Welcome back to the channel. William and I are welcoming you back today. Today we are looking at the Noc Knives or Tacray DT-03. You can go now, William. Your job is done. So this is a knife that I have been using extensively for many months now. I kept this because I liked it so much. This is an inexpensive titanium anodized knife. It is a finger flick or spidey flick style knife. And this performs well above its price point. So I really wanted to do a full video on this, highlight how good it is. First of all, when I bought this knife, I searched and searched because this comes in an M390 and a VG10 version. I could not find the M390 version, which is what I really wanted. Now that I've experienced how good the VG10 version is, I'm actually very glad that I did not find the M390 version, because I have never used M390 that performs as well as this VG10 in any knife I have ever tested, including Microtech. This is absolutely fantastic steel. It's better than M390 in every way that I tested it. So I'm glad I got the cheaper version, because the more expensive version I doubt would have been any better. Size-wise, it's a fairly large knife. There it is next to a bug out. 4-inch blade on this. There's a SOG terminus. Here is a CRKT seismic, which is a very large knife. This is a Hogue Ritter, which is pretty much the same size as a Griptilian. So you can tell we're looking at a pretty big knife, relatively narrow handle. It does feel pretty good in my hand, even though I have large hands. Testing wise, let's test it on some rope here. Now keep in mind, this knife has been in my pocket for months without sharpening it, which shows you how good the corrosion resistance is in that it is still that sharp. Tough nylon rope here, absolutely no problem. Full flat grind on this, so it slices very well against a flat surface. There's no binding or hanging up in fruit or vegetables. Carving into wood, the squareness of the handle really keeps it from spinning in your hand, so it carves very well into hard things. No resistance, no issues there. The tip on this is a little thin. I'll hold it up to the camera so hopefully you can see that is a relatively thin tip. So it's not necessarily an abuse rated knife. This is more of a large EDC, but it's a very good one. Edge retention, this did 400 cuts in my edge retention testing, which is on par with the best. The only steels I've had do better than that are some very good 14C28N and some Magna Cut. So this knife is rating at the top of what I actually end up with in my pocket. There's a little bit of flex on the lock bar, which I will show you in the testing or in the disassembly portion of the video. But there's really nothing to complain about here. You got a lot of machining. You got a lot of really good styling. This comes in gray or purple. I just really liked the blue/purple. There isn't a very good way to open this with your thumb. So ergonomics wise, it doesn't really open very well this way. It's kind of hard to do. You wouldn't really want to thumb flick it. Like you risk catching your edge on the, your thumb on the edge of the knife. But it finger flicks or spidey flicks very, very easily. In fact, this is the easiest knife I've had to index finger flick ever. So aside from that adjustment, nothing to complain about there. Pocket clip does very well, good tension, no hanging up, easy to put in your pocket, which is a problem with a lot of machined titanium pocket clips. So I have absolutely nothing bad to say about this knife, even though it's less than $100, and that's well under the price range for what you're usually going to pay for full titanium and 4-inch blade. 4.1 ounces on my scale, which is perfectly reasonable for a 4-inch blade. Absolutely love this knife, highly recommend it. Let's get into some disassembly. So here's the back spacer so you can see the Noc Knives Tacray DT-03. We'll get into disassembling it here. Pivot is a T8. And it just comes out of the one side there. Let's see if I can pop it out. Yep, I can. I like trying to pop out the pivots like that because that tells me to some extent how precisely engineered the knife is. If I can easily slide that out, it means everything has been lined up pretty well. Bearings popped right out, blade popped right out. This is a relatively thin blade, but you can see the bearings have not been recessed into the blade, which helps as far as durability of the blade goes. One thing I want to point off right off the bat is just how large that lock face is. This is a very well designed locking system, so no worries about wear on that. You can see I've had this knife for months. I've flipped it a lot. There's not a lot of wear happening there. Love that feature. Also, you can see the blade back here at the back is recessed around the lock pin, which gives you more surface area. Again, improves wear characteristics of the knife. Rest of the bolts here are T6. Let's get those out. This one goes into the back spacer. We'll just take one side out for now and show you what that looks like. I'm taking off the non-lock side of the knife. And this one goes into the back spacer, and I believe this functions in the pocket clip as well. Yes, it does. Yeah, so this one goes through the pocket clip and the back spacer through the other side of the knife. And let's see where we've gotten to here. Okay, so that's starting to come apart. Very tight fit on everything, which is a good sign. Yeah, so that's what I was on the other side. This one kind of has a barrel nut on the inner side there. There's two bolts that go into that central barrel, which is why I'm having a hard time getting it out. Because as one loosens, the other one tends to loosen, and then the barrel wants to spin. So that's a bit annoying. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that. I'll have to hold that with something as I tighten it to get it back together. Let's get on to the rest of it. Here is the stop pin. It is quite a burly stop pin. There are no bolts in this, but you can see that is the stop pin that you can see on the exterior of the knife, which is kind of cool. Cool little styling cue there. These bolts on the upper side here, these are actually just cosmetics. There's nothing that this bolt actually holds in, which you can see now. I'm going to put this one back in just to show what that looks like, because there's no actual function there. It just kind of looks cool. It gives some symmetry with the stop pin being up here at the front. Just kind of a cool look. I don't have any problem with that. It may add a small, tiny bit of weight, but not enough to really bother anyone. If you were really, really concerned about weight, you could take that out and lose a little bit of weight on both of those. There's the back spacer, lanyard hole, holes for the two bolt pylon things. This is titanium, as is the rest of the handle. Just cleaning off the inside of the knife here since I'm going to be reassembling it. There are metal washers, steel washers inside the titanium handles to keep them from wearing into the titanium with the bearings. That is the lock face on the lock bar. Again, huge lock face. Great design. Plenty of metal left there in the frame lock mechanism. It does flex a little if I push it, but really not much. So for such a long, light knife, quite a nice sturdy design there. Let's get the pocket clip off so you can see that. But other than that, that's pretty much all there is to this knife. They've kept it reasonably simple, which I like a lot. You know, if you've watched this channel very long, that I really like flippers on my EDC knives. But this one flips, like I said, finger flips so easily that I don't really miss having a flipper. There is the pocket clip. Recessed, kind of keyed fit into the handle there. Very secure. I have not felt any wiggle over the time that I've used it. So there is a quick disassembly of that knife. Like I said, I've liked this knife a lot more than a lot of even more expensive knives that I had. So very good knife, highly recommend. Check out the purchase links downstairs. Please like, subscribe, and share these videos if you are enjoying seeing actual testing and reviews where people actually use the knives, which is what I like to do.